Welcome everyone. This is the October 15th, 2024 meeting of the City of Pittsburgh LGBTQIA Plus Commission. I'm Billy Heilman, the interim secretary, and I will call the roll. CC Calhoun.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, CC. Kevin Carroll.
I am here. Present.
Donnie Donovan.
Here.
Alexander Gray.
Present.
Billy Heilman's here. Julian McLean. We're waiting for Julian, expecting him soon. Lenny Orbovich.
Here.
Richard Parsakian.
Here.
Shantae Porter. I think we're still waiting for Shantae. Sarah Rosso is excused. She's notified us of her absence. Derek Tynes also is excused for the meeting, as is Guillermo Velasquez. And last but not least, Barb Warwick.
I'm here. Thank you.
Great. Well, this is wonderful. We have quorum for our October regular meeting. Now we would approve the minutes from the prior meeting. We have a couple sets of minutes to look over. What we will do is get the meeting minutes to all of you, particularly, of course, not particularly, but including all the new members, and give you a chance to review those documents prior to asking for you to vote on their approval. So we'll do that at our next meeting in November. Also, typically at this point, but we're going to have to restart this. We are obligated as a commission to post agenda and then give the public an opportunity to comment on the items that we might discuss. That would come in through emails to the commission, and we would at this meeting acknowledge the public comment, and we will fully develop that process. So right now we do not have public comment to report at this meeting, but we will get that in order for future meetings. Next on our agenda, and I think all the commissioners have a copy of the agenda, is reports of officers and standing committees. And you'll notice that this agenda format is a typical Robert's Rules of Order format that commissions generally follow, and we've been following for a couple years now. And we go through this process, this agenda format, and we next have reports of officers and standing committees. But what we're going to do here, and I'll turn it over to Adriana, the IDEA manager.
Yes.
The IDEA manager, and she will get us started with introductions of the new commissioners.
Absolutely. Do we want them to introduce themselves? Or?
I think yes,
Why
but
not?
I just thought since you know them, go ahead and introduce each and let them.
So I'm very, very happy to announce that we have 3 new commissioners on this month's call: Donnie Donovan, Alexander Gray, and Barb Warwick. If you all would like to take just like a minute of your time to introduce yourself to the commission, you're more than welcome to.
Let's start with Donnie.
Hey. Hi. I'm Donnie, and I am really excited to be a part of this commission. And I'm a small business owner. My background in it is in health and wellness, and I own a for-profit gym in East Liberty. I've been there for about 4 years. And I'm also the program manager at Phoenix Fitness within PERSAD, which is a trans non-binary and gender non-conforming gym. That's a part of the nonprofit of PERSAD. So my background is in health and wellness, and yeah, I'm here to represent the LGBT community, but also in particular the trans community. So yeah, I'm a Pittsburgh native too. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Donnie. Alexander, if you're comfortable, you can go.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Alexander Gray, pronouns he, him. I currently work at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law in their legal clinics, where I assist primarily low-income people get in touch with legal services, provided by certified legal interns at the law school. I am also a Pittsburgh native, grew up in the North Hills in Hampton Township. So glad we've got some Pittsburgh natives here. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to this and hopefully being an advocate for better mental health services, especially in the city. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Barb, if you're comfortable, you're able to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. So apologies. I have something at 6:30 at the JCC, so I'm at the JCC. At any rate, yeah, I am the city council member, the new city council member, and I know that it is, certainly a shame that we don't have a member on council who is a member of the community. With the retirement of Councilman Kraus, but I am very happy to serve on the community and consider myself an ally. And so, yeah, I hope that, whatever you need from the city council perspective, whatever this commission needs, I hope that I can help, further those goals, however that looks. So thanks very much.
Barb, what district are you in?
So I represent District 5. So that is Squirrel Hill South, Greenfield, Hazelwood, the 31st Ward, Swiss Elm Park, and a tiny sliver of Regent Square.
Perfect. Happy to have you all here. Thank you so much for your introductions.
And my perspective on this is that everybody's queer because if you're not queer, you're queer to me. So,
You're one of the colors of the rainbow.
We quickly introduce ourselves.
yeah, let's do that so that the three new commissioners know us. Go ahead and start, Lenny.
Hi, I'm Lenny Orbovich, he, him pronouns. I'm a teacher in the Pittsburgh Public Schools at Carrick High School. And I'm the educational expert for what that's worth.
And he is. I'm Billy Heilman. I'm the president of the Pittsburgh Federation of Teachers and was a classroom teacher in the Pittsburgh Public Schools for many years before joining the staff at the PFT. And I'm very honored to be part of the commission.
Richard Parsakian. I'm a holdover from the actual council, the LGBTQI plus council. I also have a small business, Eons. I've been there 38 years, very involved in the community, the arts community specifically, Planned Parenthood. Let's see what else. Working, I am not a Pittsburgh native, but I've been here since 1971, so I'm very Pittsburgh. And I have a very welcoming business. If you don't know my store, stop by. I'm very proud to have created a safe space for my community. And I think it's very important that we elevate these types of businesses. So I'm very happy to hear, Donnie, that you're also doing that in East Liberty, which is a stone's throw from where my business is.
Wonderful.
Cece?
Yes, hi. Sorry, I'm at an event for work, but I'm Cece or Catherine Calhoun. I am the Director of Education and Community Engagement at the August Wilson Center in downtown Pittsburgh. I also have an LLC called Constantly Creating, where I do a lot of different things. I'm also into health and wellness. I'm a Zumba instructor, and I do a lot of health and wellness events and different things. I'm excited to meet all of you and hope to meet you all in person at some point. I'm also finishing my doctorate degree, so I'm always pretty busy, almost done, should be done this year. And yeah, that's me. Thank you. And I look forward to meeting everybody again in person.
Kevin?
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin Carroll. I'm the representative for the Commission on Human Relations. So we process discrimination complaints in housing, employment, civil rights, public accommodations. So if any of y'all have questions or concerns or, anything regarding that matter, send them my way.
Wonderful. And let's,
Wonderful.
each of you introduce.
Hi, everybody. I'm Adriana Brannon. I'm the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Manager for the Office of the Mayor. I'm also the staffer for the LGBTQIA Commission. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. And I'm very, very happy to be on here as a member of the community myself. Even as somebody that cannot vote on this commission, it means a deep amount to me that I'm able to have any impact whatsoever. So I will pass to Sharice.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharice Green. I'm the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Coordinator. So I help Adriana with any work that she needs. I'm also the front desk of the mayor's office. Sometimes if you call the front desk, it's me answering. I am not a Pittsburgh native. I was born in Jamaica and I started here in April.
I'm also not a Pittsburgh native. I'm from Philly, and I do love Philly, but I also love the city I'm in, and there's no problem with that.
I will never be president. I will never be president, but I work here.
I'm from upstate New York.
Okay, great. That was wonderful. Thank you, Lynn, for pushing us to do to get everybody included in that. We have a pretty lengthy agenda, but I do want to at least relax you that we will adjourn at 7 p.m. Whether we'll just, things that we don't get to will be part of unfinished business at the next meeting. So don't worry about that. I'll briefly do the secretary's report. Our regular meetings are the third Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. I think we are going to attempt to do meetings that are hybrid, where if you can't make the in-person setting, that you will be able to log in, as some of you have. And I think that will help us reach quorum in the short term. So that was under Secretary's report. Item 2 under there, I just wanted to identify, particularly for the public who might view this, but also for the commissioners, that we have 6 officer positions on our commission, 3 co-chairs. The reason we have 3 co-chairs is to promote diversity in leadership positions, and so that no one identity was the face of the commission. So that we do have in our bylaws some strong language around diversity and making sure that this is an inclusive body. We have 3 other officer positions, a secretary, a treasurer, and an outreach coordinator. All the roles and responsibilities of the officers are described in our bylaws, which are on the website now.
And I also shared with the new commission.
Okay, great. So I won't go into that, but I will point out that we have 1 co-chair vacancy currently. And with the treasurer position is also vacant, as is the outreach coordinator position. I've agreed to do the secretary thing after saying I would step back, but then I step back in. So I do like it that we have an agenda and we have minutes. That type of thing is one of my strengths. So I'm gonna continue to support the commission in that way. So we are going to then move to reports of special committees. So when there's an item that is not a standing committee type of thing, but something that might be temporary or around a particular event or activity, it gets involved in what would be a special committee. So item A is momentum. This is from a prior discussion, building momentum for the commission and actionable goal planning. So we talked about previously planning a training. There's some more detail on that in other documents that we'll make sure everyone has. Creating a perception survey and town halls. Those are the 3 items. So we can go through each one of them. Adriana, do you want to say anything about these?
Yeah, actually, I'll quickly go through each of them. So for planning a training, and I do think this is really important specifically for city staff and the city departments to be able to have a clear understanding of sexual orientation and gender identity for our employees and to ensure that they're not facing any sort of discrimination. We, within the city government, used to, within HR, have a trainer that was SOGIE trained, SOGIE, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression. That person left for another opportunity, and it's been roughly 1.5 to 2 years since we've had SOGI training. They are bringing on new trainers in HR, and so I brought this up to Paula Kellerman, who is the head of HR in the city government. She is very supportive of making sure that this training is reinstated. And so hilariously enough, Hugh Lane provides that training. And so once the new trainers for city government are onboarded, I can contact Sarah and kind of go through Hugh Lane to make sure that they're trained. So I just wanted to let y'all know that while nobody currently is providing those trainings, within the next few months, definitely by the new year, we should have somebody that is trained and is able to offer those within the city government. Any questions there? Wonderful.
But I do want to say that since the commission does have by the legislation some responsibility
Yes.
for engagement with city departments and the apparatus. I don't know that we're interested just in an HR department doing SOGI training alone, that there needs to be engagement between the commission and the city apparatus around the issues that may be before the commission at the time.
I can totally understand that. So I think SOGI training is a great foundation to make sure that that exists for the trainers for the city government, but I see no problem in making sure that they are connected to the commission to ensure that like the training itself or any education they're giving to other city employees is supplemented by the work that we're actively doing. Does that make sense?
It does, and that's part of what my point was, but I also don't want us as commissioners to lose sight of our responsibility to be actively engaged in maybe the issues that are before us, and so that not only do the employees in the city of Pittsburgh at any level are understanding of what you might get from SOGI training, but also that there are things that are happening in the city of Pittsburgh. There's, of course, the mayor's agenda to have a fully inclusive city that we can work to support.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think building that all out, making sure all of those kind of elements are represented not only in the training, but in like any sort of outreach and education to city employees and everybody else. I think that makes total sense. All good with that? Great. So I'll give updates on when that's all happening and when they are trained, and then we can definitely go from there to see what those next steps are to making sure that it's like really intersectional and inclusive to the work that we're doing and to what the commissioners kind of envision as education throughout the state government. For creating a Pittsburgh LGBTQIA perception survey, 2 things there. So firstly, we don't have a budget this year. So if we are asking like a consultant or an outside entity to create a survey or to conduct a survey, we don't currently have money to put towards that. So I just want to be transparent there. That does not mean that is not something that we can advocate for the next budget season next year, and something that we can work on in the meantime to figure out what that looks like, what the costs associated would be, what we want out of a perception survey. The other thing I wanted to say is I want to make sure that the work we're doing is not duplicative of something that another entity may already have done or is doing. So I also think it's on us to do the due diligence to make sure that the perception survey, whatever it specifically would entail, doesn't already exist to some degree through something else that's happening locally. So those are my 2 points with perception survey. But otherwise, I think research is a part of what the commission's responsibilities are, and I do think that it definitely has a place within the commission, and that if we want to prioritize it, then we absolutely can continue to do that.
I have a feeling that it does exist, but it's probably not at all up to date.
And that genuinely might be the mindset. Also, I do think that if it already exists with another entity, that is a great opportunity for partnership with another community organization that might have done that survey in the past, might have expertise on connecting with the community, getting really great response rates, things like that. And so I definitely think this is something that we should think about in an outreach aspect. And if we can use other partnerships to even like lower those costs or support directly organizations within our community, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Typically, a lot of the foundations
Mhm.
have funded that.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the foundations right now are reorganizing their resources, we don't know if that's going to still be available.
absolutely. But I don't see a problem with, just because we don't have a city budget doesn't mean we can't ask for foundations to support work like that. I just wanted to be, clear that we don't have that money allocated right now through the city.
If you want to go through these, because I want to give everyone a chance to comment on
Okay,
these
great.
items.
And then third, town halls, I really don't have much to mention on this besides I think it's a wonderful idea for outreach. I know we can use city facilities to lower costs. We can use any really city resources through me and Sharice to help organize on the back end to make it as easy and as simple for the commission as possible. I think it's really beneficial if they're issue specific. I don't think we should get the whole community together and say, what's going on with y'all? What are we doing? But I think it's really, really wonderful. The other thing piggybacking off of that, and this is for the entire commission to let you know that we are working on a new logo. I will have it by the next meeting. I will send it to you all for review in between this month. As soon as it's done, I'm hoping it's done within the next week or so. And then we can have that discussion during next meeting. Related to the tablecloth, that new logo presumably would go on our tablecloth. The tablecloth is already chosen. It's a big black tablecloth, pretty standard. And once the logo is approved, we can put that on the tablecloth and order that for future outreach. And that's all my comments.
So those three items, planning training, creating a perception survey, LGBTQIA plus perception survey, or town halls. Anyone who would like to comment on any of those, you feel free.
This is Barb real quick, just so I know that getting some budget for the commission was something that Councilman Kraus was, interested in. I remember him talking about it before he left. And we are actually entering budget season now on council. So again, I can't make any guarantees, right? It's all sort of, a negotiation with the administration and getting votes and all that kind of thing. But if you're able to get me just kind of a ballpark, it's something I can at least try to do.
Barb, when is that due? What's the timeline on that?
I mean, by the end of I think we have to have a final budget voted by the end of the year. Hopefully it's before that and we're not here on at midnight on December 31st. But I would think it would be sometime,
From the opposition side.
mid to end December. Yeah. So the sooner the better, just for me to know, because then I can ask what, to figure out, where to look in the couch cushions and whatever of the budget.
So we have a November meeting. Would it be too late if we made a decision then to send you?
No, that would be good. And I can ask in the meantime, right? I can ask, where that funding might come from,
Anyone else with any comments or questions? You don't have the full story behind these three agenda items, so it might seem just a little bit vague, but there has been a lot of discussion, particularly on the survey as well as the town halls in prior meetings, in different iterations. So if you have any comments about whether you think those things are worthwhile or questions about what it really means, please feel free.
Can I say?
Sure.
Would it be helpful if we ask commissioners to, through email, give suggestions of budgetary items? So we just don't come into the meeting cold and see what kind of what we would like to have as an agenda, and what our needs might be. We don't even know them. But we've talked about this for years. Through commissions and advisory councils, and we try to do the most for nothing. But it would be nice to have something.
So when I send out the invitation for this coming November, I'm happy, because I try to do it in at least 3 weeks in advance. I'm happy to ask in that same email, hey, here's the invite, looking forward to seeing you then. If you have agenda items or any issues that you'd like to discuss, and can you send them to me? And then I can send all of that to you, Billy, if that's okay with you.
I think that's fine, but I think that since we're gonna need to send out minutes, and I like to do this faster than I normally do. So then we're tied to when we get the invite. But let's do it on our own. Let's send out the minutes,
Yeah.
the prior ones
Okay.
that we talked about and the ones from this meeting.
Yeah.
And in that email,
Okay.
say, if you have any thoughts about a budget, think about it and reply to the email. And then we might be able to get a little bit of conversation there before, we do have to then, bring it all to a meeting because it needs to be public. So we'll bring all those ideas to the meeting also, but let's just get it a little sooner.
Good thing.
Alexander's hands up.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just for the town halls, would those be thematic, so to speak? Like, would each one touch on a certain issue that our community faces? And then would we be inviting like panelists from the city or from, even further abroad than the city? I'm just very curious about the town halls and what has been discussed so far.
Well, one of the things that we talked about some time ago was that we didn't want to assume that we understood what was most important to people in the community who might show up at a town hall. So there was a little bit of a reluctance of just, making it too scripted, but creating a way that we would learn from the people who live in the city or near the city if they wanted to come, because people who live near the city also spend time in the city and encounter things. So we wanted to use them also as a learning process for the commission, since we're in a way representing them, not as elected officials, but appointed. We are representing them. We wanted to learn. So I think that having it just wide open has its pros and cons, but it needed to not be just like, this is what we're going to talk about and other things are off limits. I don't think we wanted to do that.
I almost wanted to be, who are we? Like an introduction of like who the commission is. Okay. And then maybe like, what are your concerns? Maybe just keeping it very general. And if we do invite people, it could, and when we talked about this originally, I thought, well, let's maybe invite Dan Frankel if he's available, somebody who works on a broad range of topics across the state, Latasha Mays, who's part of our so it could go down this list, a list of folks who is available, and invite the community to ask just maybe broad questions, and not have something so specific. We've done that in the past, having very specific ones, which were really nice. We did maybe 2 or 3 of them, but I think people need to know that we're here.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to begin with, and I think that would be a good introduction. What do you think, Billy?
I agree with everything you said. I thought it was great.
Definitely do something like what representation for our community looks like in government, and that would be the commission, but also Latasha Mays and many other folks that are in kind of different layers of government. And the one thing I think is beneficial there, if we invited like the county, the state to be involved, because my only concern would be for folks to bring up issues that are not specific to the city government and feel like the commission is not doing something that they need done. For instance, we'll talk a little bit about housing, but like the county has a lot of that power, but a lot of folks in our community struggle with housing in one way or another. I wouldn't want the commission to get a bad rep for not focusing more on housing. because people don't know where the county starts and the city begins, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So I feel like having maybe more of a broad, like, folks that represent our community from different parts of government at the same town hall to answer those questions, to address those concerns might be more holistic. That's an idea.
But and adding on to that, just to explain like who we are,
Yes.
what our responsibilities are, would limit maybe that conversation. Because we can do so much and we cannot do this.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, I hear you literally there. Is there an idea of when we would like to do a town hall? Would we like to do it by the end of the year, starting the new year? Kind of.
I think New Year, there's holidays, would just be too much.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's probably a bad time to start setting one now.
No.
Yeah, it's a
Listen, if you told Sharice and I it was happening for the end of the year.
I was ready, I'm like, I will coordinate something. You something want coffee and bagels somewhere, I got you.
I'm an event planner too. Maybe some bad.
I'm like, Adrian, it's not what you need right now.
Okay, great.
That was great, because I was having a panic attack when I suggested this year, but that's good.
I'm just, I'm a Doberman, I'm ready to go.
We're the let's go get it team.
Great.
All right, I think I need the updated one. I got one. No, maybe this is the one. Is this the updated one? Okay, so I don't want to do this so far. So this one is PA legislation policy update. Is that
Yes,
what we are?
yes, yes.
All right, so we have, under unfinished business, we did this, by the way, PA local legislative / policy updates. That's a standing unfinished business with this
Yeah.
commission. There's always unfinished business with legislation and policies. And so this is gonna be on our agenda. But that doesn't mean that we have to just make something up to fill the spot. But sometimes we say there's no report at this point in the meeting. But we do have some things at this point, and the first one is the HRC Municipality Equality Index. And I'm gonna turn it back over to Adriana.
Thank you. Okay, so folks, I'm gonna give everybody a PowerPoint. Let me know if you can see this all right. Can everyone see the PowerPoint? Doesn't want to present, which is, that's fine. Okay, Alexander can see it, that's great. So, the HRC, the Human Rights Campaign Municipality Equality Index was brought up in a prior meeting. And so it's pretty extensive, and it made a lot more sense to go through it in a PowerPoint rather than me talking to everybody for 10 minutes, just as a visual aid to kind of talk about where we're in a really great place compliance wise and where we aren't and what we can do to improve some of those things. So starting off, I wanted to make sure I give a shout out to our new commissioners. The whole point of this is to create new recommendations based off of where we have some gaps in the HRC MEI. I am not making those recommendations, those are coming from the commission, but I just wanted to make sure the commission was informed about them. I also will be talking about the second agenda item, the fair housing amendments at the very end of this PowerPoint, because that's a much smaller item in general. So starting off, I just wanted to, before we get into the HRC MEI, and I showed this to the commissioners, the new commissioners as well, but I wanted to make sure the whole commission saw it. The right role of government. So the commission has powers both with direct control as well as what we can influence. And so direct control are things like the recommendations that we're going to talk about today, the things that are actively within the city government, stuff of like us as an employer, making sure that trans healthcare is included in our healthcare plans as a city so that we're not discriminating against trans employees. Things like that, direct control. The commission can always have an impact on those things. The other things we have are influence or indirect impact, which is stuff that we can advocate for as an advocate or as a partner. So, hey, these are our best practices and we want to see those reflected in our partnerships, in our communities, in other municipalities that we work with. So when you guys have been writing letters to like the governor and state government, like that's an example of ways that we're utilizing well, that you all are utilizing your authority and your influence in the community to be able to speak to the needs of that community. So in the Human Rights Campaign Municipality Equality Index, they, just for anybody that might not know anything about it, it is a measurement that of how inclusive municipal laws, policies, and services are of LGBTQ people who work and live in a specific city. Cities are rated based on non-discrimination laws, the municipality as an employer, municipal services, law enforcement, leadership on LGBTQ equality. The city has received 100 since at least 2017. It existed about 3 years before that. It's very likely we got great scores before that. I just can't find records of them. Now, within this, and I just want to give context for this, I am not talking about the 2024 scores. I was in charge of those and they have not come out yet. Do I think we did great? Absolutely. But can I talk about the scores specifically? No. So we're basing everything off of 2017 to 2023. I also want to give context that there are bonus and or flex points that the HRC allows that help to kind of bridge those gaps. So you can get well over 100 points, and many years we have gotten over 100 points. But I also want to give context that just because we have 100 does not mean everything is perfect, and does not mean that we have every single regulation, policy, ordinance that needs to exist. Any questions there? Perfect. So getting straight into it, Section 1 is non-discrimination laws. So for non-discrimination laws in private employment, housing, and public accommodations, we are in compliance. We've been in compliance, we have regulations there. Some of these, as we'll go through this, are also shared and or held by the county. I've tried to delegate that where it exists, but that exists. One of the bonus within this section is that all gender single occupancy facilities, so any single occupancy bathroom within city buildings or city facilities, is designated as all gender. We do not currently have a policy regarding that. Now, I can say in this building, there are no single occupancy bathrooms, so that wouldn't really count specifically here, but that does not mean that that applies to every single city facility. So there could be rec centers or senior centers that have single-use bathrooms that are designated as like male and female instead of all gender.
They include schools.
No, because PPS is technically not under our jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Another bonus is that we do have a law that was passed, I'm pretty sure by council several years ago, that protects youth from conversion therapy. So we are in compliance there. Perfect. Yeah. So there's also those same regulations that exist through the county as well. So there are protections on both sides there. And anybody can stop me for questions at any time. Feel free to speak up. The second one is municipality as an employer. We have non-discrimination in city employment. So in no way are we able to discriminate against any of our employees or applicants for their protected classes, including sexual orientation and gender identity. We have transgender inclusive healthcare benefits. So if you are an employee of the city government and you are trans and you are getting gender affirming surgeries or gender affirming treatment, that is totally covered by healthcare. As city contractor non-discrimination ordinance or policy, I cannot find any record of this. Now, within some of our solicitation language for like procurement, there are little policies within those templates, and I think that's why we've gotten like a positive for this most years, because the HRC does their own kind of investigation into the city that is also supplemented by the documentation that the city liaison provides. So we have not ever lost points on that, but again, I cannot find any record of us having non-discrimination policies with our contractors. For an inclusive workplace, and I want to give context to this, it is LGBTQ specific programming to attract LGBTQ applicants and promote diversity in the workplace. We are in compliance. We often use QBERG as a way to get folks to know about new job openings within the city government. We have also had HR actively go to LGBTQIA like local businesses and organizations to talk about opportunities within the city government. So that is covered. And then lastly, but definitely not least, there is a bonus. Oh, Alexander, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question because I did read the document.
Yeah.
And I think one of the main points that they made was there's such a difference between being in compliance because of a state law regulation as opposed to a city level regulation.
Yes.
So when you say the result in compliance, do we know if it's a city level or a state level?
City level. It is specific to the city. So as I said, I was in charge of this for 2024. Everything I submitted was specific to the city. In spaces that it was specific to the county, I had to, where I could find that, I included that. But everything was protections on a city level, just to be clear with everybody. And that is why I'm saying, for instance, there might be contractor non-discrimination language on a city level, or excuse me, on a state level, but there is nothing specific to the city that I defined. So I hope that clears that up.
Excellent, thank you.
Perfect, yeah, absolutely. Let me know if you have any other questions. And then the city employee domestic partner benefits, those do exist. If you have a domestic partnership instead of a marriage, you still get the exact same benefits. Including life insurance, et cetera, healthcare that you would get if you had a marriage certificate. And so again, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. I know this is a lot going on. The third one is municipal services. Before we go into this, I just want to make clear that because the city is a class 2 city, based on our population, based on sharing responsibilities with the county, some of our municipal services are held by the county. We cannot do some of these things. The HRC does not take any points away from us for that. They still count the things that are given by the county, but I just wanted to give clarity there. So when you're seeing no current policy, that doesn't mean that doesn't exist in the city. It just means that the city is not organizing it or is not in control of it. So the Human Rights Commission is actually in compliance because of the Commission for Human Relations. So they are the exact same thing. Having the Human Rights Commission and having the Commission for Human Relations meets that standard. The other is that making sure that that is enforceable, like any discrimination practices are enforced by the Human Rights Commission. That is also in compliance because the Commission for Human Relations has those powers. Having an LGBTQ liaison in the city executive's office. This is a
skip to non-discrimination ordinance.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about.
We're doing that. Okay.
So that's a two-parter.
All right.
So both having the Human Rights Commission and then being able to have enforcement by that commission are two separate things that both get needs. The LGBTQ liaison in the city executive's office is a really interesting one. I technically am that.
I was gonna say.
So it's me, and so we are in compliance. That does not mean that there is any code, ordinance, regulation that says that I have to exist. So the, oh, please go ahead.
Isn't that part of our charter?
No.
That position was included.
I went through the ordinance and I couldn't find
The
anything
city code.
about a staffer, which I thought was interesting. So technically I don't know this, which is kind of great.
It was.
But so that is actually, and it's great that you bring that up, Lenny, because I think that this is a kind of an easier thing for us to do. If we wanted to amend our own ordinance to say there has to be a staffer from the executive office, from the mayor's office, that is very doable. We have similar language in the Gender Equity Commission ordinance that I've been working on to make sure that there is like a managerial level employee that has to work with the commission.
I thought that was in our bylaws.
I was gonna say.
I don't have it in the bylaws. Okay, well, yeah, it's that's a little bit more.
We don't make law.
You can make recommendations.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I don't make law either, but I write laws all the time.
So I'm making that recommendation.
We'll get.
Yeah, so honestly speaking, that's the kind of thing is that you can make a recommendation.
Barb might help us.
Barb is more than welcome to talk about those things.
Yeah, sure. I mean, excuse me, if there's ever any, always happy to write new legislation. That's what we're supposed to do in council, so.
Yeah, so just an idea there,
Right.
just let you know that I exist now. I cannot promise that my same position exists in another administration or that y'all would get a direct line to the executive office in another administration. So I just wanted to be clear about that we are in compliance, but that's not definite forever.
Well, unless we.
Got it.
Unless you got the
Last
recommendation,
week,
and that was, yeah.
This whole commission can change through a different.
It's, can it? I mean, it's.
Yeah, we're the purview of the mayor.
We're part of the.
No, you guys are an ordinance, you exist
We're
regardless.
not advisory to this.
Yeah. So you are in city law,
Is
like,
that true of every commission?
yes, pretty much, yeah, to be a commission, you really have to.
The advisory council was not a commission.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that if a different administration comes in, this all can change.
No,
No,
you
they
exist,
can't get rid of us.
you can't, yeah, unless they literally.
You're
the-
here.
The hardest thing would be to get rid of the law entirely, that is the most strengthened thing that you have, and so. The ordinance is very strong from my understanding, and thus you exist regardless of administrations.
Okay.
The difference there is, do you have a direct tie to the mayor's office through a liaison or a staffer or something along those lines? That changes. Hopefully,
For now.
any mayor would want somebody from their office to work with the commission, but just to be clear, that doesn't have to exist.
Like Morgan was our connection before she left.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And so that is in compliance, but it could be changed in the future. We have policies to prevent youth bullying within city services, specifically city facilities like after school programs, anything that's going on in recreational centers. We also are in compliance for city providing services and or support of LGBTQ youth. I think those two kind of go in tandem with each other. The other things, so city providing services or support to LGBTQIA folks, experiencing homelessness, supporting LGBTQ older adults, supporting folks that live with HIV or AIDS, supporting the transgender community. There is no current policy within the city for that. Some of that is more difficult because we don't provide a lot of services as the city. A lot of that is held with the county. That does not, again, mean that those services don't exist. They just usually exist with the county. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Any questions there?
But this could also exist privately.
Yes, absolutely. This has nothing to do with any private, yeah, so like, Prasad, for instance, provides services to transgender folks. Even if the city is not funding them to do that, that still obviously exists and is a great resource, and we can always support that resource, but it's not something the city is doing.
But HRC doesn't look at that.
No,
No,
they are looking specifically at what the city
the
is doing.
city does. right?
Yeah.
They should look at it in a broader.
They have that too. This is just to make sure that the city government itself is
Okay.
utilizing its
Yes,
powers to support the community.
Well,
And
that to some extent falls under us as well, wouldn't it?
which ones?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking services and supports, transgender people live with, I mean, all of them. Like, those are the sorts of things we're at least supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird gray area of like, because we don't provide like housing or mental health services. Like I would say, for instance, the Office of Community Health and Safety of CHS, which is a very, very new department, is doing, I'm forgetting what it's called right now, but in certain zones of the city, if somebody's having a mental health crisis, you can call the police and say, hey, a friend of mine is having a mental health crisis, and they will send out not only police, but a social worker. And so those are, for instance, like mental health services that might be happening, but are they specific for those community members? Are those people trained? I'm not sure.
It's sort of terrifying that they would send the police.
No, so for mental health,
Yeah.
they started doing something called co-response.
There we go. That's what I was
Yeah, so when you call 911, they're not sending out a police officer.
Okay.
The first person they're gonna send out is a social worker
Mhm.
to, yeah.
To
or-
de-escalate.
To
And when did
de-escalate.
that change? When did that?
So they're trying to,
Started about a year ago.
yeah, so they're trying to have every zone have a co-response team.
Mhm.
So prior to sending out a police officer, as soon as you see a cop or someone in a uniform, you're like, no, I'm not responsible.
Absolutely.
See someone that looks like, regular, might have a police background, but I know how to speak to you to de-escalate things.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Barb Warwick? Your hand's up.
And we can't hear you. Cannot hear you.
Good talk.
Maybe an accident.
Maybe, you're muted,
Barb, if
Barb.
you get unmuted, feel free to speak up, but we don't want to cut you off at all.
Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted to jump. I actually have to run because I have a presentation at 6:30. So I will I'll listen in on the rest of the meeting later. And yeah, I appreciate it. I'm very, very glad to be here. So I'll see you all next month.
No, we love having
Okay.
you here. Hope you have a great meeting. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Donnie, what's going on?
I was just thinking, like, for the SOGI training, would these people that are the social workers for the de-escalation be able to be trained in the SOGI training once we get that up and running
I
again?
don't see any reason why not, and honestly, I would encourage that any social worker, both within the city building and working on those co-response teams, should have SOGI training, so I
The world.
couldn't agree with that more, Donnie, honestly, thank you for bringing that up, I think that's perfect. So I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. Any other questions regarding this? I know the municipal services is kind of a beast to tackle, okay. The next thing we have is law enforcement. So there's only 2 areas in this section. They're pretty straightforward, there is no bonus. The first one is having an LGBTQ police liaison or task force. We do have a police liaison, it is Commander Eric Baker. His contact information did not exist on the website before this year, so I have made it so that if you go to file a police report on, like, if you go to find out about the police report on the city website, you also see if you've experienced discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation, you can contact the LGBTQ police liaison, Eric Baker, and his email is there. But we do not have a task force. That is something that exists, for instance, in like Philly, where there's an entire police division that is made completely of LGBTQIA officers. Have they always had the best reputation in Philly? No, absolutely not. There's a very conflicting experience there. But that does exist. The other thing I wanted to say is when we're talking about municipal services as well, something like a class 1 city like Philadelphia has control over all of that compared to how we have to share some of that control with the county. So I just want to be clear about that.
But not in this item.
Not this item, no. In this item, we are completely in control of what's going on here. So we have our chief of police is part of the community. We also have a police liaison. We also have reported crime statistics to the FBI. The FBI always releases them like 2 years back. So the latest ones we have are from 2022. And it was pretty low. I want to say like a total of like 7 to 10 hate crimes in the city. I think 5 of those were related to sexual orientation. I think 1 might have been about gender identity. So relatively small, but it is important that those things are being reported, that it's not like just 0, 0, 0, 0 for years.
So when I was part of the advisory council, an FBI agent came to talk to us, and our response was like, are we really going to give you information? And it was like a trust thing that there was 0 trust, or very low trust.
Yeah.
So that's probably why the number is very low.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think not that we have to do an issue specific town hall, but I do think the idea of how our community interacts with law enforcement is a really important subject, is something that has always been a delicate kind of situation. I mean, from the very history of Pride. So yeah, so I think that that's really important. I am happy we're in compliance here. That does not mean that we couldn't push for more, you know.
I think the change, sorry.
Yeah, please go on.
The big change is having Larry there, a new chief of police. And
Yes.
it's part of our community that bridges a whole gap that we've never seen before. So.
Yeah, totally is.
Is the,
Yes, Donnie. Oh, sorry.
is the, does the city report hate crime statistics separately from the FBI? Or is it just what they collect just reported to the FBI?
So any hate crimes within the city, like they kind of go through every stage from my understanding. So everything that is declared as hate crime in the city has to be reported to the FBI. But also like they are a hate crime here and thus are treated as such here. But I
But
think
is there any reporting by the city?
about like hate crimes
Yes.
here.
I mean, I've looked at FBI crime statistics. They have pretty broad sets of the way they disaggregate data.
Yeah.
Does the city do that also?
So
And-
I've seen police reports on a yearly basis based off of neighborhoods, like what crimes specifically happen in each neighborhood, but I can't remember whether or not hate crimes were included or not, because it's stuff like a robbery,
Yeah, like assault.
a homicide, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know if hate crimes are reported within that space.
It would seem strange, especially with our Jewish population here, that number does not exist somewhere.
I don't wanna say it doesn't, but I have not seen it, and that is definitely something I'm happy to look into to definitely get Chief Scrotto's ear and say, hey, like, maybe I'm not seeing it somewhere, but does this reporting exist on a more local level? So I can definitely.
Hey, Donnie, did you have a question?
No.
Your hands up.
Is it,
This is an upper leg.
We've been ignoring you.
I'll lower it. Sorry. I see I can lower it now.
You have a lot to say.
And then, last but not least, so any other questions regarding police, I'm happy to check in on what we're doing locally to understand hate crimes, but yeah, let me know if anything else.
Yeah, the only thing that I could add is that, like, I don't know what Office of Municipal Investigations reports on hate crimes, but I know for our office, we're a civil agency, so anything that crosses into criminal, we report to the FBI. But anything that we get that's related to SOGI discrimination is, wouldn't be on the level of hate crime.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good point. Thank you, Kevin, for chiming in. I appreciate it. And then last but not least, the last section is about leadership and LGBTQ equality. The leadership's public position on LGBTQ equality. The HRC asked for like proof of public statements supporting the community from the mayor, from the city executive. So that is very much compliance. He goes to Pride every year, has talked openly about his support for like our commissions and other things that are regarding our community. Leadership's pro-equality legislative or policy efforts. We have a few situations there. I think when I was filling out this year, so I was utilizing the Sanctuary City for Gender Affirming Care specific legislation and policy work. And that, from my understanding, was accepted as an example, but really it's anything regarding kind of the safety or support or accessibility for the community itself. Leadership's pro-equality legislative or policy efforts. I think that also went into the same one of like showing the mayor's support for us being a sanctuary city for gender affirming care. And then following off of that, the city tests limits of restrictive state law. This is much easier in a city that leans more progressive in a state that is more conservative. So if you are in a city that is much more open and understanding, they might create laws to try to protect LGBTQIA folks within that city from the larger state government that might be trying to demonize the community. Here, the same law about gender affirming sanctuary city was what put us in compliance for this, just because it's not to say the state is specifically targeting our community, not that they're not, but not that they, yeah. Regardless of what the state does, this is a city that has sanctuary status for gender affirming care. So we're never going to say that you can't get whatever care you need to affirm your gender in any sort of way. So that is what happened here, but I'm happy to take questions, comments, concerns, This is less about policy also, you know, in general, like
I
like
know,
ordinance.
through Billy's beautiful writing of letters to the state, Senate and legislature. When these, bills come before, the, governor, that, you know, he vetoes.
Exactly.
But, I think it's wonderful that, the commission is represented by these letters, that, we are, fighting for a certain reason, and that, even though, we have a protection through the governor, we also need to be, aware of what is happening at that state level.
Absolutely.
And Dan Frankel is also on that, has been fighting for our community forever.
Absolutely.
And so all those kinds of issues that come before the state is addressed even here.
Yeah.
Through some beautiful writing. Thank you.
Yes.
But that is, I think, important that our community understands that the commission is also doing that.
Yes. Yeah, I think so the testing limits portion of that is about enacting laws that are testing the limits of state legislation. So we understand that obviously state supersedes a city in a lot of ways. And so passing legislation that is probably going to be challenged in courts, probably going to create some friction between state government and local government is what they were looking for here. That does not take anything away from the commission speaking out, recommending or supporting or advocating for specific things to happen on the state level though. And I just want to be clear about that. So that's why the gender affirming language or the gender affirming sanctuary city legislation was what was utilized here, but that does not take away any of the efforts of us using our influence, our advocacy, our significance in the local community to be able to advocate for a larger statewide kind of situation. Any other questions here? Phenomenal. I'm really excited to talk to you all about the fair housing amendments. So this is a little bit of a complicated situation, but I think it's gonna make a lot of sense. So we all just talked about where the city starts and the county ends and yada, yada, yada. And this is an odd place where the city and the county kind of share responsibility when it comes to some of the regulations around housing. So the city has the ability to decide on zoning. And they are looking to, and they're making changes to the fair housing amendments to do two things. First of all, they are changing the definition of family from something specific to bloodline and or marriage to household.
Okay, Misty, you said they, I'm sorry, I'm lost on.
Planning commission, so this is not us.
Planning commission.
So this is happening regardless of us, just to be clear. This is already in works. This is not something that the commission has to vote on or has to change
No, I get that.
language.
I was just.
Yeah, so planning commission is doing fair housing amendment changes. One of the things they're doing is they're changing the definition for family from a concept related to bloodline and marriage to household. It gives the landlords more power in a lot of these situations to be able to regulate their homes and like their properties, but also it makes in general the language much more inclusive. So that if you're in a same-sex partnership and you are not married, that you are not counted as not a family in certain situations. This would make it so that if you are a person that is living with other people, regardless of if you are married or if you are related by blood, you are a household, which is significant, especially understanding that like many members of our community, especially if they do not find acceptance in their youth, may find other folks in our community to make a family with. If they are all living together, they should not be counted as like something other than household. So that is one inclusive part of this. The other part of this that I think is going to be really, really meaningful to our community, and it's why I really was excited to talk to you all about this, is they are changing some zoning to increase supportive housing options for unhoused folks. This is very specific to things like if a retirement home or a nursing facility has closed, but the facility itself is still functional, that it could be utilized as supportive and or stability housing for folks that have been stabilized in shelters. So I think this touches our community in a lot of different ways. First of all, obviously the family definition changing makes it much more inclusive to our community specifically. But also we understand that a lot of folks within our community do experience being unhoused at one point or another in their lives, very often in their youth, but regardless of when it happens. This would create more options to create more supportive housing for them to be able to get back on their feet, to get whatever resources and services they need, to have a roof over their heads so that they don't continue to have to be in a shelter or on the street for a significant period of time. The reason I am bringing this up to the commission is because I know that this is coming before council within the next few weeks. And I think it's really incredibly important for the commission to show up on behalf of our community to speak about why this is beneficial to members of our community. And I'll tell you why. This sadly has gotten a lot of pushback from community members that do not want unhoused people in their neighborhoods. And it's coming, in my opinion, very much my opinion, from a place of ignorance and a place of fear to believe that unhoused folks are inherently dangerous, that they're violent. And we understand that these are not only people that are looking to get stable, but also they have been in that shelter for a significant amount of time before they're able to get access to this housing. So I just wanted to be clear about, you can obviously come as individual constituents, you can obviously speak about this as individuals, but I do think it's incredibly impactful for the LGBTQIA commission to talk about why this is important to our community. So that's my little spiel. Feel free to ask questions, comments, concerns, motion.
Could this be done through another letter that we would all support?
I don't think there's an issue there, but I think that is definitely beneficial, but I think physically showing up during that council meeting to speak not only on behalf of as an individual, but as a part of the commission, I think is really important here.
Yeah, what we've done in the past is commissioners have spoken at those types of forums. Lucas spoke at the health department. I forget the entity, but it was around the language that then it ended up actually being a state thing in terms of building codes to that were connected to ensuring that there were bathrooms that could be used by any gender.
Yeah.
So that issue. So what we did is a person on the commission, or it could be, supported by a knowledgeable staff support.
Oh, I'm going to be there.
Right.
Just to be clear, like, regardless of the commission, I will be speaking.
No,
Yeah.
I could have predicted.
Yeah.
that. But my point is that our process had been that there would be a motion to support a statement.
Okay.
And then commissioners were free to, as a commissioner, once the statement was approved by the commission.
Yeah.
Then being a commissioner and identifying as a commissioner at a city council meeting, a public hearing or stuff, then they were free to speak, or we discussed who would be the spokesperson for the commission on the issue at a forum like that. Because there is something about, unless there's been that discussion and approval among the commissioners, for someone to identify as a commissioner and speak on behalf of the commission without that process has some problems. Particularly if all the other commissioners just didn't agree with a position that somebody took.
Yeah, I can hear that.
So I think I think that we might want to do that. So what I would say, since you have, I think you've done your homework on this issue, I'm just suspecting that if you drafted something for us, I mean, what is the timeline on this?
It's a little bit of a time delicate situation, so it is probably going to come up in council, presumably within the next 2 weeks.
So that's when
And this just came to my aware. I did not know about this before, probably about 5 days ago, because I am not on the planning commission. I have no involvement with this directly. It was brought up to me by our chief information officer that this would be something that not only would affect the community, but that would be, it would be really impactful to see our commission actively support this in the face of many folks thinking that this is in some way going to ruin their community, their neighborhood, going to bring the value down of their homes, going to attack their children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I hear you there of like, I'm nervous that we might not have time for a letter because of the process of getting a letter approved by the entire commission. And so I don't want to mess with Robert's Rules of Order by any means, but I do think.
Well, there's always just with every problem,
I
there's
hear you,
multiple
I hear you.
solutions. So
Yeah.
I could right away offer these two.
Yeah.
So there's that, and we do, and this is in our bylaws. There's two ways to do it. First of all, someone could speak at a public hearing, identify themselves as a commissioner, and then make the comment, but I am not speaking on behalf of the commission.
Yes.
Then they could, as a member of the community who has been appointed to this commission, that
Yes.
carries some weight. If you don't get to this commission, it shouldn't be a very low bar to get to this commission, as I'll put it that way. There should be some selection and approval process. I think there is.
And there is,
So
absolutely.
and then the other part of it is that we do have an executive committee that can take action on behalf of the commission
Good point, yeah.
in between meetings. So that does, right now, it includes me, Derek, who's in the Congo, and
Sarah,
and
who is
Sarah.
not in the Congo,
Sarah.
you know.
But we could probably pretty quickly,
Yeah.
like draft something. You, Sarah and I could convene, and then we could also just, send it out to the rest of the commissioners for comment.
Absolutely.
And then, but we would not have to convene, have a quorum and do a vote.
Okay, yeah.
Because we can do something that way too.
I'm happy to put a letter together tomorrow, if everybody is okay with that. If that is,
See, we can make a motion.
you know.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they like delay public comment over this today at council?
I wasn't sure on that. I know that a planning commission meeting was happening and it wasn't specific to this issue, but this issue might have been brought up. So I don't know what was going on exactly in council.
Yeah, I mean, not that it should sway like but the Commission on Human Relations is putting out a statement, and they're also, I think, due to like overwhelming commentary, a lot of community members do want to speak on this. So I think it's something, that we should. Yeah. But I can't vote, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
No, you can.
No,
Yeah,
Kevin, you
vote.
have every right to vote. You just don't count towards quorum.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep, so, well, why don't we do it this way then?
Okay.
Since right now I'm chairing, I don't make a motion, but, may I have a motion to empower the executive committee to, even though it already is, but this just more formally does it, to write a statement regarding the fair housing amendments. Would that be proper, the way to do it, regarding the fair housing amendments, to be a public statement on behalf of the commission? If there is,
So moved.
is there a second?
I second.
Second, then, any discussion on that?
Alexander, stand up.
Yeah, I just noticed in the website about this that it seems very intentional that under what is not being changed, the custodial care facility classification, I feel like maybe strategizing around that might be a good way to approach this. That's just my 2 cents on the input.
Yeah.
But definitely second, third, triple, whatever.
Any other comment?
Okay, all in favor of moving forward with the motion to create the letter?
Aye.
Indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. So we'll do that. We'll do that by email, and then maybe do a quick Zoom meeting with you and Sarah and I, and then we will circulate it quickly for comment. And then, it'll be on us to incorporate comment as we see it.
Okay.
Alright.
Last thing, and I just wanna make sure this is okay, when the city council hearing is coming up, I'll get a notification probably the prior week. So like if it's happening next week, I'll probably know by this Friday. I'm happy to email the whole commission without a requirement that any commissioners go, but just for a notification to let you all know that it is happening and that you are welcome to come and make public comment. Is that okay with everybody?
Of course.
Cool, great, wonderful.
I don't think you ever have to ask to do that.
I just wanna make sure that nobody feels obligated to go, but I wanna make sure that everybody knows I'm gonna notify them that it's happening.
We have 5 more minutes, so.
That's,
So
do we have any new business?
are you finished with that one?
I'm completely finished. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts about anything that I spoke about today, we can talk through it. I'm guessing the HRC, MEI, or any recommendations coming from that can be another item in the next meeting to discuss if any recommendations came from that, or if anybody thinks that that's beneficial. But otherwise, I'm completely done.
All right, if there's anybody who has something that they want to bring forward as new business, that is, generally an issue that might lead to some commission action. And so then this would be the appropriate place. I would perhaps recommend that you hold it till November unless it's urgent matter.
The only thing I can think of to mention is like the commission is doing a housing survey for like any housing needs. It's for anyone that's lived in the city or previously lived in the city. We had it open till end of September, but we extended it to end of October due to like limited answers. But even anyone that lives in the county is free to fill out the survey. I can circulate the link for it in the flyer and such.
Okay. I don't know.
Kevin, are you looking for respondents from any certain demographic? Do you feel like you're lacking, or?
I mean, I actually haven't looked at the full set of results, but I mean, honestly, we haven't had enough to pinpoint. A lot of them have been maybe more East End centric, but so we'd like to go outside of that. But I mean, the East End has just, more like, yeah, we've gotten a much more youth population. So I think it is coming from college students and such.
And how long is the extension? I missed that.
It's open till the end of October, so the 31st. I think technically November 1st, but yeah.
Okay. I don't know how we can promote that for him, but.
We have a flyer, and I'll send the link for the survey and such. We do have printed flyers also in our office, but I can just like maybe bring some to the mayor's office at some point, or yeah.
Could that be put on our website?
Yeah, 100%. I can do that. That'll
You
take.
can do that fast?
I can do that tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, honestly, the
You
IMP,
too.
the IMP people are really able to. Like, I'm like, we're ready to plan a whole town hall by the end of the day. No, yeah.
2024, babe.
Kevin, I think I might have gotten that flyer before, because I know Rachel mentioned this to me a while ago, but if you're able to send that to me again, I can make a request to put that on our website.
I definitely will. Yeah, it happened also when we opened up the survey, I think around the time that Maria left.
Oh, yeah.
A lot going on in the mayor's office and such. Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, send that my way and I'll get it on the website.
I'll send it either right after this meeting or early in the morning. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. But there's just less than 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes left. So in terms of announcements, we're very close to National Coming Out Day. Really posted. That's
Are you doing anything to get your shot? Okay.
I did have more people come out to me.
That's great. That's
Wow, that's amazing.
That's wonderful.
And of course, October 11th is, because of the 1987 October 11th March on Washington. That's why National Coming Out Day exists on that day.
1988 was the first one.
Right, but so it was a year later.
I did not know that. Fun little queer history for everybody today. Great announcement, but I am now an ordained reverend, so if anybody needs to be married, if anyone needs to be married, please let me know. I'm more than happy to do that in my own.
Fabulous. Also, it's Queer History Month.
It is.
Just so it's out there. And also, I'm a public notary now if you need a notary.
Congratulations.
Throwing that out there.
Notary too. Just stamp it away. I'm getting IDs first though.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending. Thank you, Bill and your staff for hosting our meeting, and that I won't even ask for a motion to adjourn because it's time.
Okay.
Have a good evening, everyone.